Hello guys. I invite you to ponder a reality where ambition transcends mortality itself. This is the story of the one soul who, having conquered the night, descended to challenge the eternal throne of hell. The air in hell was not hot, but heavy with the silt of forgotten prayers. It settled on the soul like a second skin, a shroud woven from every unanswered plea and curse uttered since the dawn of man. Here, at the edge of the Phlegethon, a river not of fire, but of pure flowing despair, stood Vlad Dracula. He was not a cowering shade nor a tormented prisoner, he was an applicant. His ancient eyes, which had witnessed the fall of empires and the birth of nations, reflected the river's agonizing light with a chilling placidity. He had not been dragged to this place. He had walked here, every step a deliberate renunciation of the mortal coil he had so desperately clung to for centuries. The damned souls drifting in the current, their silent screams echoing in the marrow of his being, did not faze him. They were merely the chorus to a drama he had long ago authored for himself. He had come to bargain with the architect of this exquisite misery, not for salvation, but for ownership. The thought was a blasphemy so profound it should have sundered the very foundations of the pit. Yet, the foundations held. And Dracula waited. He had mastered the art of patience in darkened crypts and lonely castles. He could wait for an eternity. The irony was not lost on him. A shadow detached itself from the obsidian cliffs, a formless dread that coalesced into a figure of sublime terror and sorrow. It was not the horned beast of human imagination. It was something far older, a being of pure, undiluted absence. Lucifer, the morning star. The first and ultimate prisoner of his own creation. Dracula did not bow, he did not kneel. He simply met the being's gaze, a stare that had broken gods and heroes. And in the crushing silence of damnation's core, Dracula spoke, his voice a calm and steady poison against the cacophony of despair. I believe this kingdom is under new management. Lucifer's laughter was the sound of grinding galaxies. It echoed not in the air but in the mind, a psychic shrapnel that flayed the sanity. A being of my stature does not entertain petitions from fleeting abominations, it whispered across the void between them. You are a footnote in the grand tapestry of human sin, a creature of blood and earth. I am the author of the text. Dracula remained unmoved. Your text has run stale. Your punishments lack imagination. You offer oblivion and pain, but you have forgotten the most potent of tortures, hope. A flicker of something akin to curiosity stirred in the devil's ancient consciousness. Dracula pressed his advantage, his words weaving a new kind of scripture. You torment souls with what they have lost. I will torment them with what they could have been. I will build them a heaven within these walls, a perfect, unattainable paradise visible from every corner of their suffering. I will give them love, joy, and peace, and I will make it so close they can almost taste it. Then I will remind them that it is forever beyond their grasp. That is true damnation. A subtle shift occurred in hell's oppressive atmosphere. The river of despair churned. The silent screams of the damned faltered, replaced by a collective, indrawn breath of horrid fascination. For the first time in millennia, a new idea had been introduced into hell. Lucifer, the embodiment of static, eternal punishment, felt the tremor of change. It was a sensation he had not experienced since his own fall. Who are you to propose such a revision to my magnum opus? He hissed. I am the one who has known both the hunger of the beast and the ambition of the king. Dracula replied, taking a deliberate step forward, the ground firming under his feet as if acknowledging a new gravity. I have tasted the blood of an age, and I have heard the whispers of a million dying hearts. I have loved, and I have lost, and I have built an eternity on the ashes of that loss. You have only ever known the fall. I have mastered the art of rising again and again. His argument was not one of power, but of perspective. He was not a demon born of divine wrath, but a man who had forged his own damnation and then perfected it. He understood the nuances of human suffering in a way a fallen angel never could. To prove his point, he reached out, not with physical hands, but with his will. He found a single soul in the Phlegethon, a young woman who had died in childbirth, her despair a lament for the child she never knew. Dracula did not offer her pain. He wove a vision for her, a sunlit nursery, the warmth of a swaddled infant in her arms, the gurgling laughter, the tiny hand clutching her finger. The soul ceased its weeping. A look of ecstatic, agonizing joy illuminated its features, a radiance more painful to witness than any fire. Then Dracula let the vision crumble to dust, and the soul's subsequent scream of loss was a sound so pure in its agony that even the demons cowering in the shadows flinched. Lucifer watched, his form wavering. This was a cruelty he had never conceived of. It was intimate, it was personal, it was magnificent. The devil, for all his power, was a warden. Dracula was a poet. A dark alliance began to form, not of friendship, but of mutual infernal artistry. Lucifer, intrigued by this mortal's audacious vision, offered a pact. Prove your philosophy, take a legion, remake a circle of this domain in your image. If your symphony of sorrow produces a richer suffering, we will discuss the future of my kingdom. But if you fail, your soul will be the personal instrument of my boredom for all of eternity. Dracula accepted without hesitation. He was given the second circle, the realm of the lustful, a place of eternal meaningless winds. He stilled those winds. In their place, he constructed a phantom city, a shimmering mirage of Paris, Rome, Vienna. Not the real cities, but idealized versions born from the deepest desires of the damned. Lovers who had been torn apart in life now saw their soulmates on the other side of a crowded boulevard, forever walking away. They could see them, hear their laughter, but never reach them. The touch they craved was always an inch beyond their grasp. The despair in the second circle deepened, becoming a thick, cloying fog of exquisite torture. It was a masterpiece. Dracula's influence grew. Demons, drawn to his innovative cruelty, began to flock to his banner. Lilith, the first demoness, a being of ancient power who had grown weary of Lucifer's static reign, saw in Dracula a potential catalyst for a new age. She became his advisor, her knowledge of Hell's secret pathways and power structures proving invaluable. She taught him that Hell was not powered by divine decree, but by the collective despair of the souls within it. The more potent the despair, the greater the power that could be wielded. Dracula's methods were generating despair of a quality unseen before. He was not just torturing souls, he was refining them. But a faction of demons, loyal to the old ways, saw Dracula as a heretic. Led by Beelzebub, the Lord of the Flies, they viewed this new psychological torment as a perversion of the pure physical agony that was their birthright. A civil war brewed in the heart of damnation. The battles were not fought with fire and steel, but with ideas and influence. Beelzebub would unleash plagues of mindless torment, only for Dracula to counter by offering the afflicted souls fleeting glimpses of a world without sickness, a world of health and vitality, making their current state infinitely more unbearable. Dracula was winning. His control expanded, circle by circle. He remade the gluttonous not with starvation, but with phantom. Banquets where the food turned to ash on the tongue. He punished the wrathful not with eternal combat, but with forced, unending peace in the presence of their most hated enemies, unable to act on their rage. He was transforming Hell from a prison into a grand, interactive theater of psychological horror. His final goal was the Ninth Circle, the frozen lake of Cocytus where Lucifer himself was enthroned. He arrived not with an army, but with Lilith at his side. He had no need for legions anymore. He had become the nexus of Hell's new power, his will fueled by the refined, high-quality despair of his new system. The final confrontation was a storm of silence. Lucifer sat upon his throne of ice, the betrayers of history frozen at his feet. "Your experiment has been a resounding success," the devil's voice echoed in Dracula's soul. "The quality of suffering has increased 1,000-fold. You have proven your thesis. And now, you will receive your reward. Your soul will be mine, and your methods will be my tools. You thought you were my rival. You were merely my consultant." A cold dread, for the first time, seeped into Dracula's heart. He had been so focused on his craft, he had not seen the final trap. "You cannot have me," Dracula snarled, his power rising like a black tide. "I am not one of your broken toys. You are," Lucifer countered, his voice laced with an eternity of cold amusement. "For what is your ambition but the ultimate form of lust? What is your kingdom but the ultimate gluttony for power? What is your entire existence but the ultimate wrath against God? You belong here. You always have." But Dracula had one final move, a truth he had learned from Lilith, a secret hidden in the very architecture of damnation. He looked past Lucifer, at the frozen figure of Judas Iscariot, the ultimate betrayer, and he did the one thing the devil could never predict. He forgave him. He reached out with his immense power, not to torment, but to soothe. He poured into Judas's frozen soul a vision not of what he could have had, but an understanding of his own tragedy, a release from his own self-hatred. For the first time in eons, a single soul in the Ninth Circle felt a flicker of peace. The effect was catastrophic. The power of Hell, so finely tuned to despair, stuttered. The frozen lake cracked. A system built on eternal, unchanging damnation could not compute the algorithm of forgiveness. It was a logical paradox, a spiritual virus. Lucifer roared, a sound of pure agony, as his power source was corrupted at its very core. He was intrinsically linked to the despair of his realm. The introduction of its antithesis was poison to him. The ice around him shattered. The throne crumbled. As Lucifer's form dissolved, his last words were not a curse, but a question filled with genuine, horrified curiosity. "Why? Because I did not come here to rule your prison," Dracula said, as the structure of Hell began to unravel around him, its very reality destabilizing. "I came here to burn it down." He had never wanted the throne. His ambition was not to be a better devil, but to end the game entirely. His eternity was to be his own, not one defined by heaven or hell. The end was not a fiery apocalypse, but a quiet disintegration. The energy of Hell, unanchored by a ruling consciousness and poisoned by forgiveness, turned inward, consuming itself. The realms folded. The suffering ceased. The damned souls, their torment erased, simply faded into a peaceful, silent oblivion. Dracula and Lilith stood in the center of the unraveling void. He had not won a kingdom. He had annihilated it. His victory was not in ruling, but in ending the rule. His final act was not one of power, but of ultimate nihilistic freedom. He was beholden to no one, not God, not the devil. He was simply, and finally, alone in the quiet nothingness he had created. This tale sought to explore the very nature of punishment and ambition, a reminder that the greatest chains are often the ones we forge for ourselves. If this journey into the abyss resonated with you, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing for more stories that challenge the darkness.